As leaders in government, business and society, we bear a particular responsibility to rebuild trust in how we assume our own role as trustees.
Hidden behind the lost attempt to rebuild trust for the Davos 2024 attendees' sugar-coated totalitarian strategy for world domination is a panicked roach nest of sociopaths partaking in treason, drugs, high-end prostitutes, and delusions of grandeur.
Are you worried that if all the details come out about the Epstein trial, that your boss might get into legal trouble like Prince Andrew did or some of the others on the list? It must have been bad for Melinda to divorce him over Epstein. I mean, that's what Melinda Gates said, because he wouldn't stop visiting Epstein.
He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards.
I mean, how can you work for a guy like that?
Treason, not trust, seemed to be the actual theme at this year's Davos.
We are on the way to a new order, so we are between orders. What are we able to keep on the positive side from the old order to bring into a new world order?
At the heart of it will be many of the core principles and core institutions of the existing order.
It's absolutely critical that we accelerate. I don't want this, obviously, but if you wound up with a different president who was opposed to climate crisis, I got news for you. No one politician anywhere in the world can undo what is happening now. The marketplace is doing this.
Many of these so-called righteous saviors of humanity chose to stick their nose up at the thought of addressing the peasants when confronted by journalists asking basic questions.
I want to ask about McKinsey and those huge contracts you guys got from the Canadian government after meeting with Chrystia Freeland. Oh, don't run away. Don't run away. Why don't you want to talk about your contract with Canadian taxpayers? I mean, surely you believe in transparency. What are your plans going forward?
Not going to talk about it right now here.
Are you pulling back from it the same way BlackRock is?
No. And why don't we just set this up formally? But no, we're not pulling back from it.
Are you worried about misinformation and disinformation? That's been a big focus of the World Economic Forum this year. Do you agree with that? You don't have enough credentials to go up there, apparently. But what about the forcible nature that so many people were forced to take the jab or lose their job?
Well, what I'd like to actually just say within this is that we're certainly proud of the efforts that collectively that the healthcare sector made.
Right, and I know that, and I'm not disputing that. But
I think that if you'd like to discuss any of this further, that you can certainly be in contact with our media relations group, and they'd be happy to get in touch with you on it, okay?
I don't think they would be happy to get in touch with me. I'm asking you about the forcible nature, that if people if they weren't forced to take your medicine against their will, they'd be fired.
I need to go on this, but what I would say is that all of this comes down to local decisions that are made by countries.
Local decisions? I think you profited by it.
Dr. Tedros, how you doing? Do you think you did well in COVID, and if you're going to do as well in disease X? What is disease X? Mr. Tedros, what is disease X? And when is China going to release it?
The number one issue that Klaus Schwab says is the goal for the WEF is to combat misinformation and disinformation. Is that important to Meta?
I'm heading to my booth. This is not an interview.
How come Facebook is censoring the internet? Is it your plan to interfere with the 2024 election?
Sorry, I'm not here to the press.
The Davos attendees of 2024 need to calm the f*** down. The overselling of an imminent nightmare future is really pissing huge populations of Team Humanity off. What's to stop the hundreds of millions of us from holding a confab of our own aimed at arresting these proponents of a genocidal New World Order?
53 years after the WEF was founded, they have 75 million children working in their supply chains. The problem is that many of these companies have business models that have actually increased misery, hunger, malnutrition, and child labor.
The kind of person who will come into the next conservative administration is going to be governed by one principle, and that is destroying the grasp that political elites and unelected technocrats have over the average person.
We're going to change, instead of using a needle, to use a little patch. So the pandemic really highlighted that we've been underinvested in those innovations.
John Bound reporting.